For the last several months, we've been talking about the toll group port drivers out in Los Angeles organizing, saying, you know what, enough. We want a little bit. We want to be able to, I don't know, support our families. We'd like to have a little health care, maybe a little pension, maybe a little something, a little future. And I look at this as a model of, hey, we should be organizing all truck drivers. And as someone who drove a truck for years myself, what we're doing to these owner operators and these independent contractors is a damn shame. We've had made that job sweatshop on wheels, which is why I was happy to see that the toll group drivers have gotten their first contract out in the ports in LA, which is why I've asked Coral Callie to come out and talk to us. She's a spokesman for the Teamsters to come talk to us about this. Coral, thanks for taking time for me.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you so much for having us.
How long had this gone on? I mean, we've been talking about this on the program for it's several months now. How long has this been going on?
The struggle for the toll drivers has been going on for about 2 years. 2 years of them arming themselves with a lot of courage. It took a lot of courage with what these men and women have done and really standing up to their boss and saying, you know what, we are American workers. We deserve better. We move this economy. We deserve better. We should have, basic things at the workplace like potable drinking water or clean bathrooms. And on top of that, we also want a living wage. And that is exactly what they got with this first-time contract with the Teamsters.
So by them banding together and saying, "Hey, we're gonna become Teamsters. We want a contract." They've fought and they've won the contract. What kind of benefits? What kind of advancements? What they get here?
Huge. I mean, for starters, they have a secure retirement, something that's unheard of for port truck drivers nationwide. They have affordable health care for themselves and their families. They have stable work hours. They also have paid time off, paid sick leave, paid vacation, paid holidays, paid personal days, and they received a jaw-dropping wage increase of $6 more per hour.
Wow.
It is huge. I mean, they went from about $12 to $13 an hour to $19 to $19.75 an hour, plus a guaranteed increase every year of the life of that contract. So, I mean, these workers have literally fought for the American dream, and they finally have the American dream within their reach.
I hear that and I go, all these years, how badly underpaid they've been. And I think about that for most people that I know who are working without a contract and without a union. And you go, hey, an idea in your head, maybe?
Well, this is without a doubt a huge victory for port truck drivers, as well as the workers in every industry where hardworking men and women are subject to backbreaking work for meager wages. I mean, these are the poverty wages that for decades have plagued our nation ports, and this is exactly what workers at Walmart, at fast food establishments, at the warehouses, this is exactly what they're fighting against. And the toll drivers have proven that if workers stick together, they can triumph over any company, no matter how big, how rich, or powerful it is. And more importantly, the drivers at toll have laid out a game plan for the thousands of drivers at the ports nationwide who are ready to also fight for those middle-class wages and finally see their hard professional work valued.
Yeah, the toll group, as I understand, a huge multinational corporation.
Right, absolutely. Worldwide, it has operations in over 55 countries worldwide. And so it is a huge company, and it has stepped up to the plate, and Teamsters are very glad to be working with Toll and raising the bar for what American workers, American truck drivers deserve.
See, I look at this, and this is, you want to talk about how to turn our economy around, how to get the economy going in the right direction. This is a step in the right direction, getting people who are working for a living, the people who will move our goods, the people who clean our streets and do all of the jobs that are in this country, actually having a living, decent wage where they could actually, pay for rent, maybe take the family on a vacation, maybe, I don't know, have some disposable income to put back in the economy.
Absolutely. I mean, I spoke to one of the toll drivers this morning, and he was telling me that he already went to the dentist and he got braces for two of his daughters. I mean, already you see money going back into the economy. You see them taking advantage of a healthcare plan that up to now was just not within their reach. And, I mean, it's something so basic as having the healthcare protection for your family, for your children, and being able to get like basic dental work for your kids. I mean, this is what we're talking about for these working families. This is what has been denied to them for decades, and they have finally said enough. And we are celebrating here at the ports. I mean, I can tell you that the energy and excitement on the ground is palpable. Drivers from the West Coast ports all the way to the East Coast ports are talking about this victory, and they want to know how they can be next.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm looking forward to it because I remember a time, my grandfather was a truck driver. I drove for years, and you go back through the years, and you remember when it was a solid middle class job, and it didn't become a solid middle class job without the Teamsters, without people saying, you know what, we're gonna make this, we're gonna drag people kicking and screaming into it. We're gonna make this a living wage job that you can support a family on. And to me, this is a good start.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a turning point for ports nationwide. This is exactly what the labor movement looks like. This is ordinary American workers standing up for what is right and bringing that American dream within the reach of working families. And the Teamsters have been there with port drivers since the beginning. They will continue to be there to the end. Teamsters are very excited and welcome the toll group drivers, with open arms, and can't wait to keep on fighting the good fight.
Yeah, I remember talking to a couple of the drivers over the past several months, and the one guy, it stuck in my head because he was talking about the equipment that they were using and how there was the fumes, the diesel fumes were in the cab constantly, and he was having headaches. Is there any language in there about health and safety, anything that's going to help him out? Because I remember he was very adamant. There's no water for us to drink. We can't go to the bathroom anywhere, and I've got to sit and eat my lunch in this truck that has got the fumes sitting with me.
Absolutely, and see, that's the thing. The Teamsters have been part of a groundbreaking campaign to clean up the ports. And by clean up the ports, we're not talking about just replacing old, dirty diesel spewing trucks with new, clean trucks, but we're also talking about cleaning up the economical mess that the industry has done to our communities. And so we're part of a national blue-green alliance that has fought to replace all the dirty trucks at the port with clean burning trucks, and we have that now. So truck drivers at Toll Group are driving clean trucks, not those that are spewing those diesel fumes that you're talking about that did cause headaches and vomiting for truck drivers throughout their workday. So they're driving clean trucks, and they're making a good living doing that. And so not only are we providing, good jobs, we're providing good green jobs.
The website, cleanandsafeports.org. We've got a link at thericksmithshow.com. Click on Coral's name. It'll take you right there. So now that you have this victory, which is I think is a great victory, from this point, now it's about growing it. It's about all of the drivers and doing this work across the country now enjoying these benefits. Because I look at this, and this is something that you can take across the country and say, look, this is because I remember when I was doing organizing, and I was trying to talk to truck drivers saying, this is my paycheck. This is what I get. This is what you could get too. This is what we should be doing across the country. What's the next step from here?
We are already receiving calls. We have been receiving calls even before the news officially got out from truck drivers from various ports, knocking on the Teamsters door and wanting to know how to be next. Obviously, Teamsters are very committed to helping and supporting port truck drivers nationwide. And the next step is to continue organizing the workers who are ready to become union, who are ready to fight for their rights, who are ready to end this scam that companies call the independent contractor, that they're not independent in any shape or form, and all it is a lease scam to take money away from these workers and pass on the business costs to these individual workers. And so workers are ready to do that. They're tired of these companies who are tax cheating, who are not paying their fair share of taxes, and who are passing on the business costs to the little guy. And so we're definitely going to keep working on that.
You bring up an excellent, something we've talked about a number of times. And, you look at the abuses of the independent contractor and these lease scams, as you've pointed out, where they're basically just cheating the workers. They're not paying unemployment. They're not paying workers' comp. They're not paying anything. These people are just off on their own. And to me, it highlights our broken labor law and what we need to be doing on the legal side of things to be changing our labor laws, redefining who workers are so that they have the ability to join and form unions and to share, much like what these toll drivers have gotten.
Yeah, and also for businesses. I mean, businesses that are responsible, like Toll Group now, that are playing by the rules, that are employing their drivers and calling them employees and not just giving them a 1099 at the end of the year. They need to be able to compete in the market in a fair way. They need to not having to compete with some shady company that is misclassifying their workers.
I mean, for me, I want companies to compete. I want people to compete on service and quality, not on who's willing to slit each other's throats for pennies.
Absolutely. Not on who pays our American workers the least.
Yeah, good point. Well, congratulations on the victory. I'm sure sweet victory it is. 2 years in the making. I appreciate the time, Coral.
Thank you, Rick.
Again, the website, cleanandsafeports.org. We've got a link at thericksmithshow.com. Just click on Coral Eats Callie's name. Take you right there. Quick break. Back after this. Stick around. Last night we talked to Coral Aitza. It's Callie. Wow, I'm going to, me and my names, about the huge victory out there with the truck drivers out in L.A. And, one of these, it's one of those things that I keep saying we need to have low-wage workers standing together and fighting and getting some of the profits that they create. Much like back in November, we saw the fast food workers in Chicago and New York taken to the streets. This is how we grow and build the middle class. My grandparents' generation understood it, and I'm hoping that we're seeing a resurgence in that, in what my grandparents understood. But this victory out in L.A. with the port truck drivers at the toll group, huge in my mind, which is why I've asked Fred Potter. He's an international vice president at large with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. Fred, thanks for taking time for me.
Thank you, and it's a real honor to be on your show. Thank you.
I look at this victory, and this has been a couple years in the making, as I remember, because we've talked to a number of people who worked out there about the conditions, the deplorable conditions and the poor wages. So this is a huge victory.
It absolutely is. It's a great victory for the port drivers, and I believe for poster boys of misclassification and the working poor.
As a former truck driver myself, I a union driver all the years that I worked, I saw the industry over the last 20 years, really go to this, as you've pointed out, to these independent contractors, to these owner-operators, to these lease programs, to where you really didn't have a voice, you didn't really have an opportunity to organize. And I see this, and I go, this is a good thing, a good model, and a good thing for folks to see.
Yes, trucking deregulation of 1980 really took the jobs that were middle-class jobs where people could work with dignity, had a good standard of living, could care for their children, put them through college, to jobs now that people barely make ends meet and have all the responsibility, but don't share in the profits.
Yeah, it truly is, as Dr. Belcher said, a sweatshop on wheels. And, I go back to my grandparents' generation. My grandfather drove a truck. He was a union truck driver, retired with dignity, with a union pension. And he told me stories about when he first started. And it seems to me we're right back where he started in the 30s and 40s. It was low wage, long hours, and everything was the responsibility of the worker. The company, they pushed everything off on them. And as time went on, they organized, they had collective bargaining agreements, the National Master Freight Agreement, and that turned into a solid middle-class job where he could, my grandmother could stay home if she wanted, and you could have a solid middle-class living. So I'm seeing kind of the cycle repeating itself.
Port drivers are understanding that they can have a say in their workplace if they organize, if they work together. This victory at Toll, our ability to negotiate that first contract that was ratified by the membership at Toll, is sending a wave through the port that, they did it at Toll, we can do it also. Our phone is ringing off the hook because port drivers finally feel they have the power, and they've seen a success. My credit to the toll drivers that stuck it out through a tough, difficult fight, and a company that really didn't want them to organize.
Yeah, and you're talking about not just a company, but a huge multinational company.
That is correct.
As I look at the agreement, and it's really very impressive gains by these drivers, and really a very good wage increase, good health care. They've got some pension stuff, and more importantly, some pretty good language on safety. One of the guys I remember talking to about a year and a half ago told me, he would have to eat his lunch in the cab of the truck with the fumes from the truck coming in. There was nowhere to get clean water, nowhere to go to the bathroom. There's some things going to fix that, right?
Those items were all addressed. One of the issues you brought up was clean restrooms. In these contract negotiations, that issue was resolved. The fact is, this was an amazing first contract to have them into a Teamsters pension. What really happened was the health care. We made it affordable because we were able to negotiate the amounts that the employees actually contribute to that health care, because a number of these drivers chose not to have health care because they couldn't afford it. Between the wage increases and the fact that we actually lowered the payment that drivers significantly pay towards their health benefits, more workers are going to be covered.
And to me, this isn't just about the port drivers. This is about any driver in any company or any worker anywhere who, for the last 5 years, we've seen employers doing everything they can to reduce wages and take away benefits and working conditions and all of that. I see this as now as an opportunity to turn around and say enough is enough already. We want some of the benefits, some of the fruits of our labor, some of the wealth that we create.
Well, ports are where, if anything, where jobs have grown. The people that's in the global marketplace are the most profitable corporations in America, but yet they choose to ignore the fact that working people need to have a decent standard of living, that they do need affordable health care, and they should be able to work in a safe environment. They shouldn't be afraid to report safety violations, that they're not going to be able to work and be punished if they want to, drive on the highways with safe equipment that protects the public. And, that's an atmosphere that's got to be created in the port.
Yeah, and not just in the port, though, Fred. I mean, across the industry as a whole, across every job sector in this country, I truly believe that every worker in this country should have a voice at work, should have a safe workplace, have decent health care, have a reasonable retirement, and a wage that they can support their family on with dignity. I don't think that's too much to ask for every citizen of this country.
I agree with you, but that's not what corporate America and what the employers in the global supply chain, they feel these are expendable workers, and the race is to the bottom. The fact is, why I emphasize the port drivers, I think they're the poster boy of misclassification. The Obama administration has clearly said, we have to address employee classification, make sure that people are properly classified, so they can seek their rights at the job, join a union, have collective bargaining. And the fact is, what the ports have done is they've created a sham. These are really modern-day sharecroppers.
Explain
they got to lease the equipment, and they don't share in the profit, and they can't set rates. And in every aspect, they're an employee.
Yeah, explain the misclassification, because a lot of people may not understand what you're talking about.
Well, there's essentially two types of employees. One is an employee who's properly classified. He gets a W-2, and the employer pays him wages required under the law, Fair Labor Standards Act, or your city ordinance or state law. And the fact is that the employer pays, their portion of the Social Security and the other taxes.
Unemployment.
And the employees have rights. They have the right to organize. They have the rights to laws like the Equal Employment Opportunity. They have OSHA protection. Then there's another employee. That's one that's a 1099 employee, not a 1099 vendor or contractor, one who works on occasion or has a contract in which they have control over their work. Then there's the misclassified worker who gets a 1099, but yet he has to work for the employer. He has to exclusively work for that employer. He has no say over any of the conditions, what he gets paid. He's subject to deductions that he doesn't agree to. And the fact is, he's froze out of all the rights that he would have as a true traditional employee. And in fact, the law says that they're misclassified, but the issue for the port driver has been able to find a vehicle in which to address this abuse and this misclassification. And we feel we have a solution to that to help these drivers be properly classified as employees, so they can exercise their rights that many employees take for granted in this country.
I look at that, and you look at all the misclassification going on, and it really highlights the broken nature of our labor laws.
That's correct, and more has to be done to address that issue. I think that like I said, the administration is on the right path to address this, but what we've seen at Toll, and now we're seeing with other workers, not only at the port, but as you said, the fast food restaurants and some of the major warehousing and retailers in this country, workers are standing up and saying, you know what, I'm not properly classified. I'm not being treated correctly. They're using agency companies to avoid real protection for the workers. And I think that low-paid workers have finally said, enough.
Yep.
This isn't just about the wealthy in this country. It should be about the people that actually move the goods, that provide the services to the public, and we should have the protections under the law. They should be afforded to us as well.
Yeah, as my grandfather always said, there's only so much of what we're willing to eat, and I keep wondering when we're going to get to the point when there's only so much of what we're going to eat.
Well, I'm pretty confident that this is a major start.
I got a tweet
towards workers standing up for their rights. These were courageous workers, and we see the enthusiasm that the toll workers have now for going out and spreading the word to other workers to say, you can do this too. The Teamsters will stand behind you, but you need to be able to fight for your rights as well. And that's really what this is about. It's a struggle. And workers have to do this. And we're there to educate them, to let them know what their rights are and what they can do.
I got a tweet from Eric, the Teamster, who points out that the Savannah port drivers will be marching for their right to organize at this year's Martin Luther King Jr. parade. And as you look at this, as I've been saying, the answer here are people in the streets. So thanks, Eric. That's a great thing. So the question is from here, where do you go? He's pointed out the Savannah port drivers are going to be in the streets. What's next?
Well, I think you've seen the strikes in Seattle last year by the port drivers. We see workers at ports and warehousing calling the Department of Labor, complaining and filing complaints about the conditions they work in, the fact that they're misclassified, they're not paid, even minimum wage in some aspects. They have illegal deductions from their pay, a whole host of issues. What's next? I think that if business doesn't look at how they're treating the workers, they're going to see more interruptions. They're going to see more crises at the ports.
Yeah.
And the fact is, I think this is a time in our history where the workers have said enough is enough, and we're going to stand up for our rights.
Yeah, someone who worked for a trucking company for 20 years, drove myself. One of the biggest misclassifications that I saw that I think was just destroying the industry and really harming another Teamster company. I look at FedEx and how they misclassify numerous employees and get away with it because our laws are so badly screwed up.
Yeah, the enforcement, the enforcement needs to be stepped up. You got a company like FedEx is willing to throw a lot of lawyers to make appeals, to tie these things up, and they can profit off the workers while real justice is delayed. That's unacceptable. That's what workers have to stand up against and say, we're not going to take this.
Yeah, well, congratulations on the huge victory. I'm looking forward to more victories in ports and in workplaces across the country, because I truly believe the way we rebuild the middle class is through people joining and forming unions and bargaining at the table for just a little bit, not all of the wealth that they create, but it's enough to live on.
Well, the unions built the middle class. People tend to forget that. It's great that your program speaks for workers, is a voice for workers, and reminds them that to restore dignity at work and to restore middle class conditions, that they need to form a union and stand up for themselves. So I thank you for doing that.
Thanks so much, Fred. I appreciate the time.
Yep.
Fred
Thank you.
Potter.
Bye.
International Vice President at Large with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters.